On this week's GTA 6 o'clock, new GTA 6 websites revealed. My boy has a creepy corndog.com.
I mean, God, oh my God, like what is that image? I don't know.
Well, Apple goes to Miami. That reminds me of GTA 6. I love iPhones. I'm going to buy one. And Table Rock Mountain in GTA 6. Do you think we'll actually be able to climb up it or interact with it? I'm going to say yes. It's all here on this week's GTA 6 o'clock. Welcome to episode 89 of GTA 6 o'clock, the world's most in-depth and best connected GTA 6 show, and the only show to come to you direct from our HQ in Los Santos. Soon, we hope, to be moving to Vice City. I'm your host, James JJ Jarvis, and joining me in the studio to celebrate the 251 days which are left until the release of GTA 6, we hope, is Dan DD Dawkins.
Hello, another day peeled off tomorrow. Can't wait, 250 to go.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, that's less than, well, I was going to say less than half a year, but that's not actually true. So it's about 7 months, we were saying just now, hopefully.
Yes.
If we stick to the May 26th, 2026 release date. So not long.
Yes.
With every week, we knock off another 7 days. Soon we'll be into under 200 days, and won't that be exciting?
Oof.
This week, we got a few interesting things to talk about, and we're going to kick off with something that actually was floating around just at the end of last week, which is some GTA 6 websites. This was found by a user on the GTA forums called Tez2. And they discovered a lot of domain names that had been registered under Take-Two's name servers on May 27th, 2025. Now, there's going to be some technical jargon coming up here, so prepare yourselves. Now, originally, these name servers were registered to things like NSO3, ValdeIndustries.net, and my favorite, DSN2.po5.enzone.net. Love that one. Now, all of these sites are also tied to sites like rockstargames.com. Now, Rock Paper Shotgun, the online website, has also been looking into this, and they say in what could be a hasty attempt at hiding the tracks, they've since been unhitched from those name servers and are now registered under Mark Monitor, a trademark protection business whose clients include Rockstar parent company Take-Two Interactive. Now, you can actually look some of this stuff up yourself. If you go to the domain name lookup site whois.com and enter any of these URLs, you can find that these are registered to Mark Monitor Inc., which is, as we said, the company who does a lot of corporate domain management for companies like Take-Two Interactive. And they did also register the main Rockstar Games website. So, what are these websites and why are they exciting? Well, there's a whole load of them, actually. And we can go through them now and see if we can add any insight into what these might be for. You might have seen some of these already, and a lot of people have already commented on what these are. One of them, whatup.app. Dan, any thoughts on what this might be?
Well, this is the most obvious of all of them because it sounds literally like WhatsApp, the popular messaging service. So this is this seems like a dozy. The one that absolutely slam dunks this is that this name appeared in the infamous GTA 6 leak. So this just feels like a thing that will happen. Some kind of messaging device, I guess, on your phone or some otherwise to contact people.
And I think that, coupled with the stuff we went over about the name servers tying themselves back to Take-Two and Rockstar, we feel like most of these websites, if not all of them, are real. Correct?
Yeah, I think the overall, we should pay attention to this because the background stands up. Tez2 is like a fairly well-respected GTA forum member who's got a good history of this sort of like data background digging stuff. And it's not hard to stand up yourself. I did it last week. I wrote about this in the newsletter. You go into Whois, you start putting in. I did it with that weird URL we're talking about in a minute. My boy has a creepy corndog.com. Now, even after Rockstar, we think, have changed how these domains were registrad or registered, it's still really easy to link it back to 2k.com and various addresses that are clearly Rockstar related. You just start clicking on the name servers underneath the domain itself and the registration, and it all links back to Rockstar related domains. So it's just legit. I think all the PC sites that have covered it seem to think it's legit. So yeah, pay attention. This is real.
Yeah, that damn internet having a quite easy way to trace things back to their origin actually helps us out this time. And it's, within, which we'll probably get to in a minute, within the history of Rockstar registering these sites, like they have done this before. We have seen this happen with GTA 5, which maybe we'll get onto in a second. So all in all, yes, these things I think pretty legitimate. So WhatApp.app, WhatsApp, RideMe.app, probably a parody for ride service like Uber or Lyft.
Yeah, sounds likely. I mean, so many of Rockstar's names are double entendres.
Yes.
So there's that side to it. But I think sometimes they sound worse than they actually are. So I think this is a parody of Uber or Lyft. Sounds sensible to me.
Yeah, RideMe, pretty good innuendo for some kind of rideshare service. And I'd lean towards it being something like Lyft because of the Y that they've used in RideMe is RYDE instead of RIDE. And Lyft obviously spells lift with a Y. And it's easier probably to do a parody of that than Uber. Like, what letter are you changing in Uber to make people go, oh, yeah, that's Uber services? So that's probably your way of fast traveling around the map, like a taxi service. You just call in Lyft and say, I want to go to this area. And then you'd either get to sit in the car and look at all the lovely scenery pass you by, or just fast travel to wherever you want to be.
Yeah.
The next one is a little bit more up in the air. Buckme.app, Buckme. There's been a little bit of debate over what this could be. I don't know which way you're leaning, Dan.
Well, there's two schools of thought. The first one that was leapt on by GTA forums was Buckme.app. And they probably lent on the smuttier connotation of this and saying it was a parody of OnlyFans or like Patreon. I guess the idea of like creators, exotic creators offering the chance to buck me.
Exotic creators.
By saying basically, see my risque film set with the Buck Me app. Now, someone else had also pointed out, okay, could it also be though, like a sort of cash payment app like Wise or some sort of wallet app, which also makes sense because bucks, US dollars, bucks, that makes sense and is maybe a bit, would sort of align more with some of the other puns. So I don't know which way I lean on it really. Actually, the more I thought about it, the more I thought maybe it is just cash payment, but it's much richer material to have a website of creators revealing risky snaps of themselves.
I also added in an extra thing here about, could it be a site like Fiverr, which I hope is internationally recognized, where you basically put on a job and say, I'm basically going to give you $5 for this to do this thing, design me a CD case or something like that. Not obviously relevant to the world of GTA 6, but could this then act as a website where you go on and find small jobs that will give you some petty cash that is like, someone might, for example, like we've seen in one of the screenshots or the trailer, someone might have lost their bike and might say, I've lost my bike. If you return it to me, I will give you $5. Go on the Buck Me site. You find up all of these things that you could go and do around the world. Select one of them, and then they just become like mini side missions for you. I'm just throwing that out there as a possibility. The next one, simple, leonidagov.org, parody of what we think is going to be the official government site for the state. And then we've got brianandbradley.com. Multiple options here. A clothing brand, an influencer duo, possibly even real estate or insurance, a band, department store. It could be a whole host of things. The unfortunate thing about all of these websites is we've only got the URL to go on. So we can't actually get any more insight into what it is, but it could be any of those things.
And I don't know if anyone listening has got a better understanding of the full service US market who might go, that's clearly a copy of this popular US film, like it isn't a copy of a popular UK thing. I don't know. Maybe you've got something to add in the comments, but I feel like this is a bit of a wide scattershot. It's hard to know with this. I saw people talking about on one of the forums saying Jason wears a hat that says Bradley on it. I couldn't find that. And even if it was, that's only half of this name.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That didn't feel very compelling to me.
Next up, we have the interesting hookers-galore.com. Now, you might think that this is another foray into the sort of OnlyFans world and that kind of thing, but that feels too obvious for us, right? It feels a lot more likely to be some kind of phishing site.
Yeah, I'd be almost certain this is a phishing website. And we know that. We talked about grass rivers last week. There's huge areas of the map where phishing will be a thing. So I just think it will be that.
And hookersgalore.com is funny for then it to turn into that's where you get your tackle from and your bait and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and not every website, like Ride Me, Buck Me, and Hookers Galore can't all be sexy websites. They could be, because we all know what the real internet is like. But in terms of this game and the breadth of things to do, it would be too weird. So I think I'd lean towards the phishing option.
And if we're going down the weird route, the next two could be anything. We've got wipeoutcornskin.com. That it could be anything. It could be medical or some kind of thing that you'd have to go and get some kind of cream for. Who knows? And then we also have myboyhasacreepycorndog.com, which the suggestions were some kind of public service site, or I think you wrote weird meme gallery.
Some people, that was what some commenters were wondering. Is it like a, like you would say, like hashtag my boy is a creepy corn dog, and it's, God, oh my God, like what is that image? I don't know.
Well,
maybe it's literally, like we'll talk about now, it's the food that looks ghostly or something, and it's a meme image of like, look at my hot dog thing, it looks creepy.
Right, like it's got a face of Jesus in it or something.
Yeah, that sort of thing. It's like Jesus on toast style.
Yeah,
image.
but in a corn dog.
Could be. The more literal, my boy as in my son has a creepy corn dog, feels even more sinister.
Yeah. I was taking my boy as being like in a relationship, like the partner of that person, almost like on a forum, going into like what would effectively be like a subreddit that's my boy has a creepy corn dog, and everyone going, oh yeah, mine does too, look at this. Or they're just discussing whatever the corn dog is. Now, obviously, as you said, an actual corn dog is a hot dog on a stick with cornbread wrapped around it. You get it at carnivals, street fairs, all of that kind of stuff. If you actually type in what is a corn dog into Google, do not do that, because you end up in a very dark place.
Oh dear.
And
everyone's doing that right now and then saying, why didn't you warn me?
Yeah. So, but it's not like that, doesn't even that, the Urban Dictionary description of it doesn't work for this.
Yeah.
So it could be something, corn dog, let's be honest, my boy has a creepy corn dog, sounds a bit penisy. But I've said it, Dan. I've said it.
Yeah, of course it does. Of course it does. And that's clearly what the intention is.
But you don't want a website full of that.
Well, no, that would be horrific. But what I think it could, what I do wonder, and I'm talking myself into this, a website that is of weird images glimpsed in the world would be consistent with, I guess, this idea of having a camera and being able to film things and accidental events, emergent events happening. And if you can snap them, like the idea of an internal place for all of those weird images snapped in the game world to exist is quite exciting. You could see yourself going, I'm going to put my, weird thing that's just happened on my boyasacreepycorndog.com. But I don't know, but also, it could be on another social network or whatever. Maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree. I don't know. That's another, I don't know. I don't know. What do you think?
I was on board more with your there's something weird going on in corn dogs, but
yes.
I don't like. I don't know what that would be, and I don't know why a website would exist for it.
And for the game to be like, this is a game that's got more corn dogs that look like faces than any other. So like one of the side missions is, photograph 50 corn dogs that look like they've got faces. Can you imagine that as a side mission?
No.
It's too mad, isn't it?
But I can imagine, I guess, this just being a advert on a radio station or a TV channel that is for some kind of forum that you can go to talk about this. And the website just exists in the world and you can actually go to it. And it's one of those cool little Easter eggs that if you're in an internet cafe, you can type it in and you're like, oh, it does actually work. And this website is real in the game. I can see it being no more than that, really, of it just being, you type it in, you go to a landing page and it's got some of the advertising text speak on it and that kind of stuff. And I guess all of this comes back around to what we said at the top, is that Rockstar have done this before. In February 2011, we got a number of registered domain names like cashfordeaddreams.com, sixfiguretemps.com, stoppayingyourmortgage.net, lifeinvader.com, all of which were also registered by Mark Monitor, and all ended up being in GTA 5, with the exception of stoppayingyourmortgage.net, which I guess is just something that they just didn't have time to.
Yeah, just the thing they registered didn't happen, but it still redirects to the GTA 5 website. So it was clearly something they had an idea to do something with, and in the end they just, because they knew fans were probably clicking on it, just said go and see the GTA 5 website instead. So yeah, it was an intention to do something with it.
So all of those things came out 2 years before the release of GTA 5. These things are coming out, what we suspect is about a year before GTA 6. So do we have any thoughts of why this stuff has come to light now, or why they've been registered now? Is it tinfoil hat on, a deliberate marketing strategy of, we've not really got anything else to do right now, let's register the domain names and let people talk about those kind of things? Or is it something a lot more simple as just like, well, we have to register these domains at some point, we might as well just do it now?
I've talked about this a bit on the newsletter last week. What I thought was weird was, given that in the past, and we're talking 14 years ago, they registered a load of domain names, they got found, it was like 2 and a bit years away from the release of the game. It looked quite accidental at that time, almost like they muddled it up and done it in a way that, oh dear, we've put all this stuff out in the public domain, 2 years away from release. I don't know. It felt like a mistake. But to do it again, to get caught twice feels clumsy, particularly if it's the same firm. You'd have thought someone somewhere would have gone, oh, I remember that time we put the domain names out and everyone talked about them.
Yeah.
Like, to do that again, knowing people will probably find it, feels a bit reckless, arguably, right? So then I started to think, really, reckless to the point of, is it almost suspicious? As in, is it a deliberate act, knowing people will pick it up, and then actually acts as part of the hype cycle, so people like us talk about it and go, what does my boy have a creepy corn dog mean?
Yeah.
And it's in the absence of any new trailer, any new assets or anything, just to keep conversation flowing. It's a very easy way just to keep the hype cycle moving. And I don't know either way. It's very hard to prove either way. It could just be another mistake, inverted commas. But it does facilitate conversation. I don't know what you think. I just find it slightly strange that almost like one day after it was 1 year to go to GTA 6, there's like a big deliberate leak. And now more to me looks like someone, like Rockstar will have a marketing plan and a social media plan for this game, and they'll have milestones for, the intention is trailer 3 this date, these assets this date, hands-on this date, whatever they do, whatever the milestones are. Like, is there an entry on that spreadsheet that says accidentally leak URLs?
Registered domain names.
Yeah, that sounds that's a bit conspiratorial, but like we're at the stage now where we all know how the internet works. We all know how this game works. I think it would be a legitimate marketing beat to do the fake URL drop. It doesn't mean it is. I just think it could be. And I found the timing almost like they've gone 1 year to go, activate this stupid thing that'll get people talking for a week or two. That's my, as I say, that's my conspiratorial tin hat view of it. I don't know how you feel. I saw people talking as well about going, it's something to do with the way registrations work. And if you registered it exactly on the day, you wouldn't get the full year and you'd have to pay for 2 years. Or
not paying for 2 years.
Given that these things probably cost like pennies, and this is a game that's rumored to cost up to $2 billion, that felt slightly implausible to me. Like, to be penny pinching at that level.
Yeah.
It just felt weird. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, and I think, they obviously have to register these at some point. And it's worth noting that even the GTA 5 websites, none of these websites actually work. Like, they all just redirect to the GTA 5 site. You can't physically go on them in real life and type them in and it will take you to a page. They're all in-game websites that you have to access via the in-game internet.
Yes.
But I guess what this does allow them to do is feature some of these things in an upcoming asset drop. So if, for example, the next trailer or screenshots featured Brian and Bradley, whatever that is, as a brand, or even Hookers Galore as a image on a poster, I guess the risk is people might then try and register those websites knowing that they're going to be in GTA 6 and just sit on them.
Yes.
But for Rockstar doing this, it protects them to be able to then say, all right, we can release the image of the corn dog and it's going to be fine because we have registered the website and we own that now. Yeah. So there might be a little bit of that, of like, we might start seeing more what up things, or, a ride me car passing a street in the next trailer whenever that comes out. And then, they've covered themselves. So I feel like it might be a little bit of that rather than and also maybe it does cover them a little bit for, it gives us some news to talk about. So maybe there's a little bit of that as well. I don't feel like the date is that particular. I think they could have done this whenever, as long as they did it before the next content drop, which may or may not contain some of these things. Another little bit of a curiosity here then, Dan, which you also wrote in the newsletter, which people can sign up for, by the way, by going to www.gamesradar.com/newsletter. Click on the GTA 6 one, and you'll get all of the information every week via the form of some written words rather than us talking about things. Anyway, yes, you did write about this. Apple had a recent iPhone 17 event, which appeared to have some sort of connection to, well, let's say Miami, because it definitely had a connection to Miami.
Yes.
Where they were telling you all about the phones. The iPhone project manager, Megan Nash, was standing in front of some palm trees and some lovely neon signage, which looked like it was on the real life Miami beach. Now, we did talk about this the other day, and I actually did go and look about this. She's definitely not on Miami Beach.
What?
It's all definitely done on green screen.
Oh, that's a shame.
But it does lead us on to, why did they do this? Like, is it just a nice location? Is it a semi-coincidence that Apple have started leaning into the GTA 6 excitement and saying, well, let's just stand in front of what looks like a setting from GTA 6? Or did they just go, actually, the new iPhone is really good at taking images in dark areas with a lot of neon lights, and this will show it off quite well. Let's just stand here. I don't know which camp you're falling in, but maybe it changes your mind now knowing that it's all fake.
Well, I don't, whether the image is fake or not.
It is.
Yeah, and it is. I've just seen it. It's still the background. And it's still a conscious choice. And it still looks, because it's Miami Beach, right? It's Miami Beach unequivocally. And it's in front of landmarks like the Carlisle Hotel. They're very iconic. So that they are showing you Miami in the background. Now, that could be because We just chose it because, like you say, it's got lovely neon lights and our camera's really good at taking photos of that stuff, and that's why we chose it. That's totally legitimate. It's also like one of the more unique and iconic locations in America, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere famous. Makes sense. Though I guess if it's not actually filmed there, they could have gone in front of the Taj Mahal. They could have gone anywhere.
Yeah.
Right? Because if they're not actually there, the entire world is their oyster. She could have been bungee jumping off the Great Wall of China. That'd be more difficult to make look accurate, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? It could have been anywhere. But I just wonder if it's them starting to nod just to the cult. It's a cultural signifier to go, we know GTA 6 is coming. It's set in Miami and its color scheme and branding is like this, and we're leaning into it. And it just creates this subtle association of aligning yourself with a thing that's about to be big and cool. And so then people like us can go, oh, they filmed it in GTA 6, which if you were launching an iPhone, which they are, and it's new and they cost a lot of money and they want people to write about them, you would put things in that video that might get people talking. And this is one of them.
Hence, here we are.
Yeah, here we are. And then we've accidentally promoted the iPhone 17 for them.
Yes.
So there's a lot of, accident or design again, I'm not sure. But I would say I think it's a conscious choice.
Yeah.
And I think that all of those things might be true. It might be because it is a brilliant location to take photos, but also because, well, it doesn't hurt that it reminds people of what will be the biggest cultural event of 2026.
Yeah. And it is going to be, it's the last iPhone launch before GTA 6 comes out. We hope, fingers crossed, you never know. So this is probably the last opportunity for them to lean into that kind of thing. Now, I've since talked myself out of this, but when I first read about this last week, I was like, oh, maybe they've filmed this so far in advance that they were anticipating the game coming out, when it was meant to come out in the next couple of months. And this would have been a great tie-in to go, everyone's really excited about GTA 6 coming out in November, December. This is the iPhone launch. We can film this in front of, on Miami Beach. People are going to be like, oh my God, it reminds me of GTA 6. I love iPhones. I'm going to buy one. Actually, now knowing that it's just on a green screen set and they could have chosen any location, makes me think that they have just chosen this out of all of the locations in the world. But I think, like you say, have still chosen it with a slight lean into, well, people are excited about Miami and it is one of the biggest games. It just so happens that it's going to be 7 months away rather than 2 months away. So I bet they had that discussion of, do we keep it here now that the game has moved? And someone, like we've said, probably went, yeah, it's still a nice background. It's still lots of colourful and it's iconic. So why not? And some idiots on a podcast might talk about it and then more people might buy an iPhone 17.
Yeah, for sure. I can't wait to buy one now it's been linked to GTA 6.
Yeah, I do like iPhones, Apple. So if you are listening and you want to just, send some, feel free.
Shameless.
So let's move on to something that is even more up for debate. We're not quite in the is it a rock or elephant territory, but we might be close. So do you remember, Dan, when we talked about Mount Kalaga and the national park, and we were discussing all of the things that were related to that? Well, it turns out we might have missed something in the postcard. So if you have a look at the postcard image, which hopefully producer Nathan can put up on screen now, there we are. Now, is there anything on here that you can see that we might have missed when we talked about it?
Well, if you'd asked me this question 10 minutes before, I'd said no, but because I'm reading our script, I will say, haha. Well, zoom in, and in the background, you can see a mountain shape that is like a tabletop. And as you've said, this could be Table Rock Mountain, which is in North Carolina.
Yeah, if you look slightly under the K,
yes,
next to one of the clouds, there is what looks like a protruding rock, which is quite flat. And then if you compare it to the actual real-life image of Table Rock Mountain from North Carolina, it looks like this. And I think there's an argument to be made that, yes, it could be that. it also very much could not be that. So I think you could go either way on this school of thought. The most exciting thing maybe is that if they are referencing Table Rock Mountain, it's way too far north of the map to actually be in GTA 6. Like, North Carolina is so far up the map that it's definitely not happening. But if you wanted a location that featured an iconic landmark at the edge of your map or near the edge of your map, you could convince me to move something like this down in the geography of the area and put it within the national park as a like really iconic landmark that people would recognize and be able to go up and that kind of thing. It's been described as the most visible symbol in the region by some people on, well, I mean, that's what Wikipedia told me. So, but it has been described as that. So you can convince me that that is what's happened. They've taken a bit of iconic geography from another bit of the US and just sort of bumped it down a bit and gone, yeah, this will be our borderline because it's cool, it looks nice, and it's iconic. Do you think we'll actually be able to climb up it or interact with it? I'm going to say yes. In real life, the mountain apparently is 3,909 feet. By comparison, Mount Chiliad in GTA 5 was 2,600 feet in-game feet. So it's a comparable size, but it's big. Real life, very popular for rock climbing, and it's got a reputation of being the best place to climb in the southern US. So, thoughts, Dan? We think there's a possibility that this is Table Rock Mountain? And if so, have they moved it all the way down from North Carolina?
I think, like you say, it can't actually be that because the geography is too crazy. But they can play fast and loose with reality, I suppose, and snip out a thing and transport it. That can be real. The thing I don't know, because this entire area feels like one of the less known areas, particularly by the mapping project, is like, is that a pictured horizon that we can actually reach? It looks really far away is the point to make. Like the Mount Kalaga image is itself framed out from a distance to show like a vista. And then very small in the very far background of that vista is this tabletop mountain. So it looks really far away. So it's like a question of, I think, how deep and long is the Mount Kalaga area in the national park? Maybe it's huge. We just don't know. And then, you know, can you scale all the way from where this picture is taken to that mountain and then climb it? Or is it, like we've talked about previously on the show, is this where Rockstar's equivalent of the Great Wall in the north of Game of Thrones lives? Like the mountain that cannot be crossed. And it's like a horizon you can never quite reach for reasons. I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's the bit that I think that, like we've talked about in the show, that design solution is harder because of the existence in planes of the world than just saying it's actually an island and the entire map surrounded by sea. That's the easiest way to stop people going where you don't want them to go, because you can, when you're out at sea and everything looks the same, it's easy to turn the plane back around and go, whoopsie, you can't go any further. Where if you literally, you know, there's certain rules of physics that apply to a plane or a helicopter, but for some reason that mountain doesn't let you go up high enough to do it. I don't know, it can be an easy fit. Unless the mountain's really, really, really high. But like, you know, what mountain can't be got over with a plane?
Yeah, and I think that's the difficult thing here is like, if you can see it in this postcard and we're assuming that, you know, you'd want to go towards it, how do you stop people going towards it if not for a massive expanse of sea, which obviously isn't there because you can see the mountain?
Yeah.
So then you can't put up an invisible wall that you just keep bashing into. So how do you realistically stop people from getting there? Unless the solution is let them go there. And then, then like you say, I guess you got the complications of, can you go over the mountain? Probably yes. So then on beyond that mountain, is that the expanse of sea?
Or more mountains. This is where we just don't know. And it's how big and deep is the the unmapped region of this area. The national parks are huge.
Mm.
We are talking about American landmass, but there's a challenging game design where if you just create huge areas where nothing happens, it's a bit boring and people get lost and they don't want to do it. So I think you have to compress geography and move landmarks about.
Especially when you've got like no phone reception, as we've talked about. Go into the national park, your phone stops working.
Well, yeah, there's all sorts of things that could happen. So I just don't know, but I think it would be fun. And I think the idea of a very flat mountain that's almost like a challenge. It's not like like Mount Chiliad, for example. You could still basically sprint up it. It was quite. There were some parts of it that were difficult to ascend, but it still felt like it wasn't like climbing K2. You didn't need like an oxygen mask and climbing crampons and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It was just it's a bit steep and a bit difficult, but it's not really that crazy. This feels more like a sheer vertical face, whether it would be like it's a climbing mini game.
Yeah.
That maybe that will be fun. Maybe that's a different thing.
Yeah, I'm well up for it being, some kind of climbing feature. Like, now we're confirming that rock climbing is in GTA 6, so let's take that off the list as well. There was one extra bit of bonus thing which sort of ties into this that I wanted to touch on just at the end of this week. Now, in trailer 1, there was a load of graffiti, obviously all over the Wynwood district of the trailer. Now, Rascal on the GTA forums has found the real life, let's say, inspiration for one of these pieces of graffiti in the game. Now you can see the image from the trailer here. It's right at the beginning of the Wynwood Art District section of trailer 1. And if you take that image and then compare it to the real life version, which is here, it's pretty similar.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Almost identical.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Now, this real life version is from Atlantic Beach, which is, again, way north of the map.
Yeah, it's not close to Miami Beach at all. It's almost fringing in the area that we believe to be what we just talked about.
The fringes of the map.
Yeah, the fringes of the northernmost area of the map. Yeah.
It's like the in-game Gloriana border.
Yeah.
/ where we believe the national park is going to take place. In real life, it's like just to the east of Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Like it's around that sort of area. So really high up in Florida. Now, there's a couple of interesting things here that we can talk about. Firstly, is there enough of a difference here to claim this as an imitation? And how, do we even know how that works from real life in the game? Is this something that you think that they've gone out and found the artist who did this and gone, we basically want to put this in GTA 6, is that okay? Or is it, like when you do cover songs, is it enough of a replication without being exactly the same? I mean, you'd argue, if I was that artist, I'd argue that is the same.
Oh, I think I would be saying it's pretty clearly inspired by what I've done.
Yeah. Even like the little eyes around the edge are exactly the same. So I don't know how that works in terms of putting stuff in real life into a video game and changing it slightly. But definitely, people like the marathon team got in hot water recently by basically doing this kind of thing about using people's art in the real world and changing it into in-game assets. And then they had to change it all. I don't think that's going to happen here, because if you've done this, you'd want it to be in GTA 6, I imagine. But the second bit, as we discussed, is this is right up on the border of Georgia, east of Jacksonville. I would suggest that the recce work wasn't done on Google Maps, which is how this image was found. Someone was just going around the area and looking for graffiti. So therefore, did the Rockstar GTA 6 research and development team go out to this location? And if they did, why did they go up this far if the map is only going to focus on Miami and, say, the lower half of Florida, which you could include Tampa and Orlando in that section, fine.
Yeah.
But why were they all the way up here looking for references and what that looks like, unless the map is being condensed somewhat and they're taking like these fringe bits of real life Florida and sort of moving them down the map a bit to go, okay, well, this is our border now. We need some reference shots from here. Oh, that's a good bit of graffiti. Let's put it down in Miami. That would be my take on it, would be, I don't know why they'd be that far up in Florida unless it was for reasons.
I think this is obviously really hard to prove. I think I agree with, like, it might be they were up in that area for other reasons of getting the feel of this northernmost area in real life Miami. As you say, it's almost Georgia, east of Jacksonville. But it might just be while they were there, they snapped this and went, we love this texture. It just doesn't work with our map, but let's just pretend it's somewhere else and shove it down and replicate it. And then the bit you talked about at the start, I find really interesting. I'm not obviously a lawyer. I wonder, there's a difference between what they did on Marathon and how they, I guess, took someone's publicly online artwork or maybe even commercial artwork versus when you graffiti something, and I don't know the answer in this, do you surrender rights to owning it because you've actually imposed it upon what's often a public wall? Like, can you claim to own the graffiti that's on a building that isn't yours?
Yes. I'm not saying yes. I'm saying
yes.
Yeah.
As in, I don't know, and I don't know what or is the rights to the image still yours? I don't know.
Because Banksy puts images on public buildings all over this, but then they get sold. But I guess that's a different thing because he doesn't really, or they don't really want to be identified as any particular person, so they're not going to come forward and say, actually, wait a minute, that's mine. I'd like £1 million for that. But yeah, if you took another bit of graffiti from the wall, could you then sell that? I don't know.
No, I don't know. If anyone has got any actual legal framework around this, please add it to the comments. I don't know. It's probably something we could Google. We're coming up with this on the fly. I think that's interesting because for Rockstar, it must have been an issue they've contended with since GTA 4 or whatever. Since they've sent teams out into the wild to relentlessly photograph locations, they must have a thing we can and can't do when it comes to copying real life. Or whether it's it's about the degree of change, because whilst this image it's so clearly based on the same thing, but whether it's seen in the eyes of the law as significantly changing it to the point where they could pretend it's different, there's a semantics in that. And at what point is it significantly distinct? And who is the judge of that? Is it a jury? Is it certain conditions around it? Don't know. It's a bit of a rabbit hole, but I find it interesting. So I think you're right. I think it's probably something where they've done loads of research, found this thing they really liked and thrown it in the game. And whether it's been agreed with the artist or they just be like, if the artist gets in touch, they don't own it anyway. And I'm sure they're pleased.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of comments, please add yours if you're watching and listening on YouTube to the comments below. If you're not, and if you're one of the podcast services, thank you very much for listening. Why not get in touch with us on Twitter at GTAVOclock or via email gtavIoclock@gmail.com. As we mentioned at the top, there is also a newsletter which comes out every Thursday-ish, which you can get on www.gamesradar.com/newsletter. Click on the GTA6 one. Dan, thank you very much for this week. Great speculation as always. Please let us know your comments in the comments below and get in touch if you've got any tidbits of information via email. And we will be back next week for another episode of GTA 6 O'Clock.